on Migratory Birds Day. Today is Migratory Birds Day also. And they have problem because they travel thousands of kilometers, stays in another country for their temperature, climate changes. We are going to listen from Sekat Kumar Basuji. Thank you. Welcome, Sekatji. Welcome. And now I would like to request Professor Vishnu V.K. Agnihotri sir for his welcome address. Today, for this webinar only, Sekat Kumar Basuji is the speaker. Gaikwad-ji will be joining, I hope. And then next webinar will be on technology for health and peace. So, welcome all. Welcome, Dr. Sekat.
Thank you so much. And we really very much crazy and interested to know the good new news on this topic, the migratory birds itself. And I welcome all the guest speakers, especially our Dr. Sekat Kumar Basu. Philosophically, if we can understand, we are all migrating birds, and so are our kids. They got their whole nourishment, preparation, everything, and now they took a flight. And of course, migrating birds are coming back, so we do hope that they will come back to our places and look after us. But at the same time, we are moving, going, coming for the earning of our bread, and they also migrate simply because of the protection of their health. Because right from extreme icy and extreme cold weather, they come down to our place, and we have witnessed a lot of birds, Siberian birds here in across the Ganges sites. So many types of good big birds. Sometimes like ducks and other birds also. So they migrate, especially, and they go back when here the summer starts. So we would like to have a lot of informations and good information from Dr. Sekat Basuji, from our guest speakers. So with these words, I invite Dr. Sekat Kumar Basuji. Please join us. Thank you so much. Namaskar.
Thank you, Sharmaji. Thank you, Agnihotri ji. It's a pleasure once again to be back on the platform. And today, while talking on migratory birds, let us get a little classic definition of what actually is a migratory bird. A migratory bird is a kind of a bird that spends a part of their life cycle in two different continents. So it is mostly those birds that try and avoid inclement weather in one continent. They move into favorable weather conditions into another continent or another country, and there they can spend their summer, where they can breed, where they can forage, they can nest, they raise their eggs, they raise their young. And once the youngs reach a little bit of subadult stage and ready to fly, then the whole flock turns back and go back to their wintering ground. So this is how they balance. It is a strategy for the birds to balance between the restriction of food resources and other natural resources, and particularly to grow their family. So they look for favorable conditions, and this is how they move from one country to another. Now, this journey of birds from one continent to another is a humongous journey, and only recently we are getting to know about various species and how long their distances that they could cover. So there are species of birds that cover huge distances between North Pole to South Pole, or from Arctic to Antarctic. There are birds that would travel from Siberia into India, and from there into Southeast Asia. There are birds that move from Africa and Europe into Asia, or Africa into Europe, or North America into South America, or Central America. So this huge mass migration of birds is indeed a very spectacular view. In our countries where we are located, we are not blessed with this opportunity to see huge migratory flocks of birds, but particularly in countries like North America, you would be able to see a huge number of migratory flocks of birds as ewes come during the fall, or which is during the autumn, when Canada geese and various other species of geese start moving from the north and start moving to their south. And it is a very wonderful sound. So say, for example, if you're early morning, you are getting up and you could hear the honking of geese and as they are flying above you, and it is a spectacular sight where you would see birds are flying in patterns of V or in a single line, and they are, all of them are making loud cries, and they are flying above you. It's a very spectacular scene across North America and United States as well as in Canada, when during the fall the birds start moving from their north to the southern latitudes to avoid the extremes of the winter, so that they can spend their summer in a warmer climate, so that they can move into South America, Mexico, or tropical, subtropical environment where they can raise their youngs. And once they become older, and as soon as the summer comes to an end, they will again flow back from one part to another. So once the winter is back, then they will go back to their overwintering ground. So this has been happening for, in evolutionary terms of years, for hundreds and thousands of years, and birds have shaped and reshaped. They have figured out various ways and strategies, and we are only using modern technology and methods to gauge the amount of distance that they could cover. Now, Amur falcon is a predatory bird that usually comes and crosses India through northeast India, and a huge and large number of them settle in Nagaland. Now, there was a point of time, even if you will go and see in YouTube, that these Amur falcon used to be caught in huge numbers across Nagaland. And there and the rural communities there, particularly the tribal communities, used to feast upon the meat, and a massive amount of bird was killed in Nagaland during their migration. Latest research has indicated that they moved from Central Asia into India, across Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, and then they travel as far as back to Africa, South Africa. They have been detected as far as, with their transmitters, as far as South Africa. And again, they do a huge mass migration from Africa back into Central Asia. So these are massive distances that birds cover. How they are able to do this, it's extremely one of the mysteries of modern metabolism, because many of these species of bird they are capable of even flying for non-stop for an extremely long distances. And during this time, it is said that they even drop their droppings, so that is, they are dropping their excreta while they are flying. They are flying and they're catching insects and eating them, and it's said that even they take small glance of sleep rest as well as when they are gliding through. Many geese, particularly the barhead geese and other part which comes from Central Asia, they have to cross the Himalayas. By the Himalayas, we mean they fly at a very high altitude, crossing Mount Everest and other such strenuous ranges, which is unbelievable that birds with such low oxygen saturation at a very high altitude could cross them, but they have been doing it for generation after generation. Various interesting research have been conducted around the world to identify what leads to this migration pattern, or what are the strategies. How is it possible that this bird, which is born in one country, travel to another country, spend summer in one country, spend winter in another country, how is it possible for them to remember this massive distance that they are doing? Now, one of the theories that scientists have worked out, they have been suggesting that birds have the ability to remember landmark signs. They follow traditional routes. They follow geometric shapes. They have a kind of a map inbuilt into their brain, just like elephants, because elephants also cover a long distance as a migratory animal from one country to another in Africa as well as in Asia. And they are very well known they're very well knowledgeable about their routes, the dangers of their routes. And sometimes they also take detour when it is necessary, when there is very high predation on them. So many times you would see that Siberian birds and other birds are coming and flocking in huge number in a local jheel or a lake or a pond in India. Then if there is too much harvesting and too much killing of these birds, you will see after 2 seasons, these birds are not coming to that particular aquatic body. Why is it? It is because they are capable in understanding and assessing the dangers that they are going through. Some other theories suggest that they have the brain contains magnetic pigments or magnetic particles in their brain, birds, and they can align their magnetic field with the magnetic field of Earth, and they use this in preparing a flask and generating a map through which they follow from one part to another. Now, there has been many researches which indicate that during the migratory season, the hormonal flow in various different kinds of hormones that stimulates the birds to fly such a long distance start secretion, and these kind of stimulate them to start their migratory journey. Their metabolism is unique because flapping the wings for such a long time would have been a huge tiring part, but then these birds, some of them can fly non-stop, others make small short stops and cover huge distance from moving from one country to another or from one entire continent to other. Think about Arctic tern, which is capable of moving from Arctic to Antarctica during their migratory season and then again coming back. So this back and forth between the two poles is not a matter of joke. It is still hundreds and thousands of researchers are involved. They're tracking the birds, they're telemetering them, they're trying to understand how this migration pattern in this bird work. While the migration of birds is a fascinating story, but it is not just restricted to birds. There are many fishes which are migratory in habit, like hilsa, salmon, that all are traveling inland during the part of their breeding season. And once their breeding is completed, all these fishes go back into the open ocean. So there is a strong history of migration in insects like locusts. From biblical time, we have studied about locusts that has been doing mass migration from one country to another, and they destroy and damage every vegetation on their path. So insects have a monarch butterfly cover around 2,500 miles from USA into Mexico during their overwintering ground, and this is a spectacular journey. So among insects, this is reported. Among mammals, tigers are migratory mammals. Lions are migratory mammals. To a certain extent, leopards are migratory mammals. Elephants are greatly migratory mammals, and even whales. Many of the aquatic or the marine mammals, particularly all species of dolphin, whales, orcas, they are all capable of doing massive migration from Pacific Ocean to Indian Ocean, from Indian Ocean to Atlantic Ocean. So they undergo massive migration. Various species of seals, walruses, all are involved in mass migration. Even smaller rodents are also involved in kinds of mass migration. So it is just not restricted to birds. It has been reported in many marine animals. It has been reported in various mammals, reptiles, amphibians, all of which so some form of migration. However, the beauty and the spectacular nature of bird migration is an outstanding aspect of nature that everyone appreciates. Now, outside this spectacle of migration, one of the challenges of migration is that because the route of these migratory birds covers huge distance across various continents, they undergo huge peril for their survival and their existence, because as they are passing through one country to another, one region, a river valley into the mountains, from the mountains into the desert areas, from the desert areas into the riverine valleys, they are subjected to exploitation and hunting. So humans, not only humans, there are predatory aspect of other birds that prey upon migratory birds, or there are other animals that depend upon these birds as a source of food. Wherever they can get hold of them, they will try and grab. Many of these ground nesting birds, which have nest and chicks on their ground, are feasted upon by various species of fox, wolves, and many other kinds of canine animals which are dependent on these birds. Many other birds are also dependent on migratory birds, particularly their egg yolk. By they break the shells of these migratory birds while they're building nest on the ground and damage their eggs or steal their chicks and eat them alive. So there is this predation part, but outside the predation, the human predation or the human negative impact on the bird population and pressure during their migration part is devastating. They are killed in massive numbers. Sometimes they are done for the purpose of collecting fresh source of meat, because in many countries where there is a lack of poultry or other kind of meat sources where people supplement their food by because of high prices, they are dependent on these wild birds as a source of their protein intake. And as a consequence, massive number of these birds are killed. There used to be old school guns for hunting migratory birds. Now there are in many countries they are using machine guns to shoot an entire flock of birds. So in one particular shooting round, 100 to 150 birds are being killed. So this is also a very, very sad incident. And there has been regulatory aspects across various countries where they have signed treaties with one another to provide safe passage for migratory birds. For example, the North American Migratory Bird Treaty is a treaty between United States, Canada, and Mexico, where they secure and are equal partners in taking responsibility in protecting birds that are covering huge distances while moving from North to South America or to Central America, and from them again back to US and Canada. Unless these international agreements are made between various countries across different continents, migratory bird species are subjected to such a huge, massive range of exploitation, particularly when they're traveling across tropical, subtropical, or temperate countries that are on the southern hemisphere or on the eastern hemisphere, where they are economically poor, backward, geopolitically unstable, lack of unemployment, lack of agriculture, lack of livestock, poultry production. Then they people are desperate for the easy source of food, which is cheaper and nutritious at the same time. Gives them an opportunity to survive by on hunting on these birds, but they are being mercilessly prosecuted. And unless severe steps and agreements are made between different countries across different continents, it would be very difficult to protect many of these migratory bird species as they cover and transfer through various cities, towns, villages, rural areas where they are being persecuted and exploited, hunted, sold, and or being killed just for fun for the purpose of hunting. So these needs to change, otherwise migratory birds may become down the line in next 20-30 years a thing of history, where we do not need to get to see that much of a migratory bird. Now, one of the caution about migratory bird meat consumption is that many of these birds harbor various viruses. Now, many of these viruses are related to respiratory diseases. Now, if people start consuming these viruses from these wild birds, or these particularly from the aquatic wild birds, particularly belonging to the geese and the duck family, one of the dangers is that these virus jump species. So from the birds, there has been many instances, particularly in case of China and other Southeast Asian countries, that there has been a severe outbreak of swine flu by people consuming migratory birds in large numbers. These virus reserves are maintained within the body of the birds. Unless we start eating them, unless humans start consuming them, they do not get a chance to jump directly into the human system. But as we are venturing and getting these things done, and we are consuming these birds in many parts of the world, particularly in South Asia, Southeast Asia, Latin America, particularly China, they are making the entire migratory process of birds as they are moving through a very, very dangerous process, because then we are exposing ourselves to these virus reservoirs. Now, one may ask that there are various animals like, coyotes, foxes, vultures, eagles, also they consume these birds. Why are they not being impacted? Because they have been consuming them for a long time. They have compatible host system in which they have their compatible digestive system, enzymes, various other gastric juices, which has been able to utilize them. And even if they have virus, this virus is restricted to this wild population. It has been found even while people in China and Southeast Asia are consuming these foxes and stuff, they are also contracting these diseases, because these diseases, this is like secondary host. The primary host is the birds, which carries those virus, and then the foxes and stuff which are eating them. And if you are eating those foxes, then you are getting a secondary sources. So it is necessary to increase education and awareness and culturally become sensitive to that it is not a very wide idea to consume wild geese and ducks, because they harbor a lot of these respiratory disease viruses, which are very, very similar in structure and function to specific human respiratory viruses. So there has been a lot of increasing in the rates of respiratory viruses around the world, particularly where migratory birds make long distance coverages, where people are consuming them without any restriction, because poultry birds are vaccinated, antibiotics etc. are given to them, they're processed, but these are not processed, they do not have those antibiotics, they have not been treated for any kind of germs that they are harboring, and there is a high chance of contaminating them and getting into the human system and then spreading it like a wildfire among various human communities, or even spreading it among wild birds or the domestic birds. And many times the various duckeries and poultries, hundreds and thousands and millions of birds has to be slaughtered to prevent the virus to infect, because we do not have, other than vaccines, we do not have antibiotics for viruses. So it is, unless it is restricted or limited or restrained, there is a high chance that in absence of a vaccine it may spread to an entire population. So with these, I conclude my presentation on migratory birds, and I think that we should take this resolution that we need to protect these majestic birds, and we need to push our government to have laws discussed in the parliament, and that new laws are passed that secure the travel path and the residency of migratory birds while they are passing through our countries. There need to be international collaboration and cooperation between adjacent countries, between countries of across different continents where these birds visit, so that they can work all together on a common platform towards the conservation of these majestic species. It can surely tilt the balance of the ecosystem if we do not protect these birds, because many times they consume a lot of harmful insects and take them away from the ecosystem, reducing the burden of their population by their sudden influx from one continent to another. These are all natural pathways, and unless being taken care of, may have detrimental effect. So it is important for us to protect migratory birds. Thank you very much. It has been a pleasure being on this platform. Hopefully you have enjoyed the presentation, and we'll look forward to get back with some new again when I'm invited. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You are humbly invited in next webinar on technology also.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
So now I would like to request Dr. Rajiv Gaikwad, renowned veterinarian in Mumbai. Welcome, welcome, Rajiv sir, welcome.
Thank you, sir. Today is World Bird Day.
Migratory bird day. You are mute, your voice is not coming. Agnihotri sir.
डॉक्टर गायकवाड़ जी आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए, आप म्यूट है माइक. Dr. Rajiv Gaik, yes.
Hello, I'm getting.
Yes. Please continue.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah. You can make a safe side and then
Okay.
can deliver your speech, because I think you are in
Yeah.
transition. Yeah.
Main 2-3 things are there that are related with the migratory track, whether it will be within a country or across the countries, etc. Another thing will be because these birds are traveling huge distance, and during migratory path, etc., they are choosing a path depending on the availability of the water bodies, their food, their resting, safety, and then they will be reaching to the particular location, etc. So that is a thing. Scientists has tracked their route actually, either by tracking, some putting of the cameras, or putting a map, or there will be the only tagging of the birds, etc. So with that, they have identified that they are following the same track for coming and going also. And generally it will be a seasonal type. So whenever the extreme heat, etc. will be there, so that time they will move from one place to other place. And scarcity of the food. if the scarcity of the food, if it is there, and generally in that such, they will be moving. So breeding season is also important because birds require a lot of nutrition, either nutrition with through the insects. So many times these insects will be consumed by the bird, or suppose seabirds are there, etc. So they will be consuming the fishes, etc. So that's why this whatever the water bodies are there, generally water bodies if it is there, so there will be around water bodies, etc. Agricultural land or marshy places will be there. Insect population will be more, and it is a natural habitat for the growing of the insect as well as their food. We can say, we should not say that that is a only insect or etc. So that will be also available. So that's why these people have tracked within a country or outside the.
आप म्यूट हो गए, आप अनम्यूट कर लीजिए। अच्छा अच्छा, डॉक्टर गायकवाड़ जी, हाँ
You
yes
can't.
sir, yeah, ठीक है,
Hello.
प्लीज कंटिन्यू।
Yeah, yeah. So here, whenever they are having a migratory track, so adequacy of food is important, and many times this breast muscles are there. So comparatively, this anaerobic metabolism is there, as well as there will be the fatty acids metabolism will be proper. So with that, there will be the constant utilization. There will not be any lactic acidosis, etc. Much lactic acidosis in spite of using heavy muscles for the traveling for a long distance, etc. So here that is important actually. So that's why this acidotic changes. If we see the other mammals, etc., so many times there will be the even little exertion is more. They may develop a acidosis or myositis will be developed, or elevation in the CPK, etc., and renal complications, etc., may arise in some of the over period of time, etc. So such thing will not be there. So that adaptation is important. Even many time, even some captive people also, they will be losing their pigeons, etc., for such purpose, etc. They will be tagging and they will be leaving them. So long distance they will be also traveling, etc. And they may be coming back also. But here sometime across the continent restriction is sometime these birds will be catch by the respective country, etc. For if suppose any uh, security purpose, etc. So sometime we are getting cases from the vessels, etc. That some other country pigeon was caught at JNPT, etc. And then they brought to that for the identification of whether tag is there or some forensic issues there, etc. So sometime we have to deal with that also. So such type of the things may be possible. But this United Nations exercise already this has formulated in 1836 somewhere, I think, in 18th century only, and 19th century. They have, because many researchers they have identified that the migratory birds are reducing. Though now we are seeing a flocks, etc. But comparatively number is reducing. So that number is alarming situation. So that's why this their care is equally important, and that is the responsibility of human being, that they should provide the safe migratory track, safe food, because many times there will be the contamination with the insecticide, pesticides, etc., and that may be one of the problem. Another thing will be the threat like some of the communicable diseases or zoonotic diseases like bird flu, etc. Sometime it may be transferred from one place to other place, etc. So that's why this our country is also having a agency. They are keeping a watch whatever the migratory birds are there. So they will be, if suppose some birds are dying, etc., they will be evaluated for the infectious diseases, etc., particularly for the zoonotic as well as the depending on the number for their disease migration, etc. So that is important because that sometime there may be the possibility of threat to the either domestic birds or threat to the human beings also. So, but government is keeping a watch on that actually, and there won't be a much problem, and because regularly they will be doing a surveillance, etc. So that issue is actually properly tackled by our country, etc. Another thing will be the even if their food, if we are saying, sometime even effluents, chemical effluents, etc., are there. So that should not contaminate the water bodies, etc. Nowadays, already it is a alarming situation for everyone actually. Water bodies are also reducing. Humans are not consuming crucial use of the water, etc. They will be wasting soft water, etc. And that is also important. So here, safe water is equally important. Then only safe environment and other thing will be possible. So our responsibility is to provide a safe track for the migratory bird. Safe food should be there, so there should not be any contamination. If we see even people are actually monitoring for the even levels of the chemicals, levels of the insecticides, etc. Nowadays, actually, if everyone is aware about that, DDT has discontinued long back. DDT and BHC has discontinued for long back. But still, their metabolites and residues are in our soil, fodder, etc. So everyone is getting a exposure of such type of the chemicals, etc. through the cycle. It will be food cycle because they are already in a food cycle. Even if we are monitoring, suppose some surgeries are there, and if you are checking a fat for the any insecticide metabolites, etc. So definitely you will get a majoritarily such type of the levels in either in the human or animal, etc. So such things are there. So that's why the safe environment, safe track, safe food for human as well as the birds, animals, etc. Then only this our ecology, if it is maintained properly, then only everyone will be the safe. Otherwise, time will come that there won't be any safety number of incidences of cancers, etc. Day by day, it is increasing actually. Lifespan, though it is increased, but there are complications are there. So for safety of everyone, we have to take care of the environment, etc. So this is about the short speech from my side.
थैंक यू, थैंक यू। आप कितने बजे पहुंचते हैं घर? बाप रे बाप,
अभी
यू आर
लेकिन time लेके अभी बात कर रहा हूँ आपसे।
जय हो, जय हो, जय हो आपकी। थैंक यू वेरी मच। अग्निहोत्री साहब,
ओके,
प्लीज। थैंक यू गायकवाड़ साहब।
थैंक यू। ओके सर।
अग्निहोत्री साहब,
जी
या
सही है, थैंक यू सो मच।
प्लीज
मुझे
सर।
वास्तव में लग रहा है कि हम सभी माइग्रेटरी हैं, बर्ड हो
हाँ,
या मैमल्स हो। और डॉक्टर सैकेट जी ने हमारी बात को ही आगे बढ़ा दिया कि मैमल्स, उन्होंने एलिफेंट, लॉयन, टाइगर सबको बताया, दीज आर द मैमल्स विच आर माइग्रेटरी। तो बड़ा अच्छा सच बात है। हमारे प्रोफेसर पवन शर्मा जी कलकत्ता, दिल्ली, भोपाल और कहाँ नहीं, एवरीवेयर ये चल रहा है। इसीलिए